We are your friendly neighborhood Sharks fans. I am your host, Jay, and I'm here with my co-host,
Nessa.
And so I go by pronouns they, them. How I got into hockey, I was 13 years old, and I just happened to be flipping through channels, and I fell onto the Sharks game one day. I can't really tell you what about the game sort of captivated me. I just remember guys getting thrown against the boards. And I don't know, that just seemed very fascinating to me, very unlike any other sport that I've kind of come across. In particular, the person who was throwing bodies against the boards was Owen Nolan. So that instantly became my favorite player. I didn't really know anybody else on the ice. I just remember that's the guy. That's my favorite right there. And that kind of started the journey for me. Started journey for me as far as watching, as far as getting into playing the game. And, you know, it's kind of just evolved into this thing where I end up meeting other folks along the way, and then starting to find other avenues in the hockey world that I felt like I wanted to engage in and, you know, hopefully make an impact, make a difference. So how about you, Nessa?
Well, my pronouns are she, her. I got into hockey, I want to say 6 years ago now, so I'm still relatively new. I remember my girlfriend turning on the TV. She just flipped to the channel, and it was the Stanley Cup playoffs. Pretty sure the Sharks were playing against the Predators first round, right? And she was like, "Oh, I've been meaning to get more into hockey." And she was like, "Do you want to watch a game with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess. I don't really know how this sport works. Like, no one out here, like, where I grew up in the Bay, it's not very popular. So hockey's not really talked about, like, northern East Bay as much, right?" So she was trying to tell me a few of the rules that she knew. And again, same thing, you know, like, I just remember seeing guys getting smashed against the boards, and I was like, holy shit. Right. I was like, I've never seen a sport like this before, and it was just so fast paced, and it was like, it was so fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I fell in love with it almost instantly, and you know, we started watching again during the Blues round, and my girlfriend bought us tickets. She surprised me with tickets to go see them. I don't remember which game it was, but I do remember it was the game that they got shut out 4-0. And it was like the game itself, like, they sucked, obviously, they didn't score, but the environment, like, that atmosphere was so, like, electrifying. I was like, this is amazing, this is my new favorite thing. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
So who would you say is your current favorite player?
Currently, I think we have the same favorite player.
And who is that?
Ferraro.
Yeah.
I like your shirt. Yeah,
I know. I'm wearing the Super Ferraro shirt. You can get it at Caraway Hockey Club. We are not sponsored by them.
I could see him being captain.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, he's definitely got it in him. He's, I think at some point during his college years, he was either an assistant or the captain. I don't recall anymore.
I enjoy his goofy personality. I always like the goofy dudes,
Mm-hmm,
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just going for, like, I feel like there's not too many players in the league that show off their personality. So when one comes along...
Oh, yeah. They definitely
like
stick out when they do.
Another favorite player, Hurdle. Why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also has a silly personality.
Mm-hmm.
Never stops smiling. Really good dude.
So, all-time favorite.
Hard to answer because I haven't been following for long.
Who would be the first player that you kind of really took a further interest than just the Sharks in general?
When I first started watching, it was Jonesy, because I was like, dang, these goalies.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And he was really good when we went through that run. And then, everyone knows what happened, right? I also really like Pavelski. And then a more, like, current player, I would say Cale Makar. He's so fun to watch.
He is very talented. I would say all-time favorite for me, I mean, I've already mentioned, obviously, the person who got me into it was Owen Nolan. But, I mean, once I started really following the Sharks, he was no longer on the team. But I always kind of, anytime the team he was on would come into town, it was always, it was nostalgic for me. But I feel like the player that I definitely had the hardest time letting go of was Dan Boyle.
I never got to watch him play.
Sadness.
So, but I think he retired like just before I started following the Sharks. Something like that.
Yeah, he I think it was the 2012-2013 season where I think his contract was up, and just that was a hard season for me because he got injured from that illegal boarding hit by Maxime Leperrier, and it sticks to me because at the time I wasn't living in California. I was in Texas, and there's only like 2 games I can go watch the Sharks when they're in town. And he got injured the game before they were supposed to come out and play against the Stars.
No.
And it just, on top of him obviously being out and concussed and just the road that he had coming back, it just added, more fuel to the fire. And for that to be his final season with the Sharks, and, because he was older and they didn't really want to, like, risk all that. Like, I get it, but it was still so hard to see him leave. But anyways, do you have any hockey superstitions?
Kind of. Not any ones that I will continuously do. I've noticed, like, during the playoffs specifically, if there's ever a shirt that I'm wearing and I notice, like, oh, they won, and then I'll wear it another day and I'm like, oh, they won. This is a lucky shirt, like something stupid like that. But there's nothing that I do religiously.
So I think I'm gonna remember that during this upcoming season. If they lose, it's gonna be like, Nessa, burn all those clothes shirt you were wearing.
I know.
It is clearly your fault. I gotta say, any chatter about, if we go up by X amount of goals or something, and someone makes the comment, or I have a passing thought of like, oh man, we're gonna win this, something that predicts that it's in the bag, like, it drives me insane. And
because it's not over until it's over. Do you know what game comes to mind?
What?
The one against the Capitals like 2 seasons ago, when Couture, I think it was Couture, scored the empty netter, and somehow the Caps came back and ended up winning in overtime.
I mean, we could even take the example of, Vegas in, like, the last time we were in the playoffs or whatever it was. And I just remember, was it Game 7? And it was 10 minutes left in regulation. I think they were up by 4 goals, something like that. And I was battling being hopeful, but feeling the season just dwindling away because the last 2.5 periods, we've just looked horrible. We look like we don't want to play anymore. And then, obviously, the penalty that led to the major
Oh, yeah, I was at that game.
Oh, were you?
Oh,
my God.
I remember I had got off a really long day of work because I started at 4 in the morning. That was my schedule. And to head from Redwood City into San Jose and, late game. And they were not playing well. They were being shut out, right? 10 minutes before the game was over. So I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, should we go? I don't think they're gonna do anything because I was exhausted, and she was like, no, I paid a lot of money for these tickets.
You will sit in this chair and you will watch them lose.
Yeah, and then like a few minutes later, Pavelski went down, and we're like, holy shit! And then everything, and then like chaos ensued after, right? That was like the best game to be at.
I mean, that's just one of the joys of the sport, right? I mean, I love watching. Generally, I love watching sports, but hockey just has that element. I mean, granted, I would like to be able to blink more during the game, but I feel like no, they could score like now. But versus, you know,
like that gif of the cat that's following the laser.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean that game in particular, that just goes to show just there's so much time left. I mean, obviously, if there's like 2 minutes left and they're down by like 4 or 5 goals, I'm probably less hopeful that they're gonna get a 5-minute major power play and do the same thing. But you know, you never know, and you see it even down to like when they pull the goalie sometimes, and you're just down by the 1 goal, but they're just throwing pucks at the net, just hoping the probability that someone moved a little bit this way and the stars aligned, you know? And but going back to what I mentioned about the superstition, it's just, it goes in the opposite direction. There's so much time for them to come back into this game, especially if it's just 1 or 2 goals. Like, there's no way I'm thinking this is in the bag until the very last nanosecond has passed.
Yeah.
What would be the dream player that you would love to have on the Sharks?
I don't know if I can answer this question. I haven't really thought about it. Like, I always joke around like, oh hey, what if like, you know, Austin Matthews gets tired of being on the Leafs and comes to the Sharks, blah blah blah, you know, something stupid like that will never ever happen. But I've never actually been like, yeah, I really want this player on this team. It'd be nice to have like a superstar on our team at some point, like that they draft, you know. But it's not something I've given too much thought about. What about you?
I've thought about this a lot. If you had asked me maybe 2-3 seasons ago, I would have said Braden Holtby.
Has to be a goalie.
No. I do like a lot of goalies. If anything, that's, if I'm watching a game, I primarily choose it on which team has the goalie that I like the most, and then I'll watch that game. I just, not to get into the nitty-gritties about goaltenders, but I like the way he plays. And the added bonus that he has been an outspoken ally. He's advocating for the community, and he's going the extra step. He's not just doing the hockey is for everyone, you know, one day out of the year. He does a short little blip. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely added to the appeal for me for Braden Holtby. But nowadays, I mean, obviously with the potential that he's going to be retiring, this should come as no surprise to you.
Okay. Is it Zibanejad?
Yes. It's a dream. There's no way. No way. He's in the prime of his career right now. The Rangers will lock him up until they start tanking again. I feel like I've gravitated to Mika because he plays the position that I play. I love his dedication. His personality is hilarious as well. So, yeah, I guess my dream would be Mika. It's very much a pipe dream. I don't ever expect it to happen. If I wake up one day and he's on the team, I won't be disappointed. But I am not in any shape, way, or form thinking that is